Welcome to the Harambee Book Club, where we're creating moments of joy, solidarity, and sharing. So today we're going to focus on my book, Joey and Grandpa Johnson's Day in Rondo. And the piece that we'll focus on in particular is how Joey finds joy in learning with his grandpa. That every Saturday he has that special occasion to go with Grandpa Johnson to learn more about their hometown, Rondo. And he finds joy in serving in his community, learning more about his cultural history and heritage. And also, he finds joy in spending time with his family. So let's take a look at one of the key lessons that he learns in finding joy is in serving in his community. So he's learning about an important concept called entrepreneurship. Do you know what entrepreneurship means? It may sound like a big word, but the impact is what we really want to focus on. So let's learn more so we can get our own definition of entrepreneurship. So Joey begins his day by visiting his family business, which is a barber shop. So he goes in and gets a haircut. Grandpa gets a haircut. They're talking to other men in the community, and they're sharing stories, sharing about the news, bonding, playing chess, listening to the radio. You get a sense of that cultural hub of the barber shop and the beauty salon within the African-American community. The barber shop where men come together on those Saturdays, and they come to share information. They come to build a real sense of community in that place and in that space that's culturally centric and community specific, called the barber shop. So he spends some time with his Uncle Charles at the barber shop, and he says, "Good morning, little Joey. Happy to see you. Are you enjoying your time with Grandpa?" Uncle Charles asked. Joey smiled from ear to ear and said, "Yes, sir." Uncle Charles has a special chair waiting for Joey and Grandpa, a big green one. It's time for Grandpa's weekly shave and Joey's weekly haircut. Before Grandpa takes a seat, he greets everyone in the shop. He shares hugs, handshakes, and a few jokes. He is finally ready for Uncle Charles to work his magic. Joey is next in line. He leaves the barber shop with a fresh new cut. So that gives you a glimpse into the barber shop. He also goes with his grandfather to pick up some special things for their weekly dinner, for their Sunday dinner, where Grandma's going to cook some great soul food dishes. So I have a question for you. What are your favorite cultural dishes? What are your favorite foods? What do you enjoy? So Joey, we know that he can't wait for smothered chicken, collard greens, candy yams, and he knows that Grandma's going to finish it off with a special dessert of sweet potato pie. So you can tell that those are some of my favorites as well. But what are your favorite dishes? What helps you to find joy when your family comes together to share a meal? So one of the highlights that Joey also has after he leaves the grocery store, he gets to visit the local law firm to learn more about Frederick McGee. So Joey walked hand in hand with Grandpa to the law office of Frederick McGee. Grandpa had to pick up a few contracts for his new business deals. When Joey entered the office, he was drawn to the photo of Frederick McGee with W.E.B. Du Bois and with William Monroe Trotter. He remembered Grandpa describing Frederick McGee as someone who fought for justice. He was a founding member of St. Peter Claver Church and founded the first chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, in Minnesota. Joey stood in front of the photo and beamed with admiration. Just as he looked up, Mr. McGee waved at Joey as he walked into his next client meeting and said, "Great to see a future lawyer in the office today." So you get a sense that Joey also learns about careers. He learns about opportunities to be able to create businesses in their community. So you know that's a hint related to entrepreneurship, that truly entrepreneurs see opportunities to be able to serve and lead in the community. So he watches Uncle Charles, who owns and manages the family's barbershop. He goes to the local co-op, so he gets to meet the folks who collectively own the co-op. And then he ends his adventure, ends his journey of learning for that Saturday. So he can't wait until next Saturday for what he'll learn in his Rondo community. But he ends with visiting the law office of Frederick McGee. So as the sun went down, Joey knew his time with Grandpa was coming to an end. He hung his head low in disappointment and slowly dragged his feet they headed back to his house, where he found his parents and baby sister on the porch. Papa was reading the newspaper. He greeted Grandpa and asked Joey about his day. Joey responded with a question. Why do Saturdays have to go by so fast? Grandpa, Mama, and Papa laughed and cherished the beauty of childhood. So you see the family on the porch as Joey and Grandpa Johnson are headed back, and Joey's, what he believes, his Saturday is coming to an end and he can't wait for the next Saturday. But what he finds is that he learned a lot during these visits with his grandfather. Joey recounted each of his visits. He shared about visiting the local businesses in Rondo. Grandpa reminded him of another lesson with a gentle hint. Did you learn a new word today? And Joey declared with joy, yes, entrepreneurship. And he began to spell it out. So if you want to spell it out with me, it's ENTREPRENEURSHIP for entrepreneurship. Joey continued, it means creating business opportunities in your community. I want to be an entrepreneur one day just like you, Grandpa. I will open my own restaurant since I love cooking soul food with Grandma. And I want to open a law firm just like Frederick McGee. I can create jobs in the community and help fight for justice. Grandpa said, this is also about being a leader. You are a great student. Leaders are learners. So you are well on your way to becoming an entrepreneur. He handed Joey a special package. Joey opened it and found a bundle of new books to read. Grandpa waved goodbye, and Joey began counting the days until he would spend time with Grandpa. And remember his countdown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he can't wait for number 6. He can't wait for Saturday to spend time with his grandfather, to create those moments of joy, of being able to celebrate community, celebrating his cultural heritage and roots, creating those moments of solidarity, that he is working in partnership with his community members. We remember that he's talking to Miss Bertha, Miss Thelma, he's talking to his uncle. How do they come together and build a strong sense of community, to be impactful, to work together in one accord? We also like to talk about this as a value around sharing our shared humanity and common destiny. So we think about that word that we oftentimes hear of Ubuntu. So it's UBUNTU. Ubuntu reminds us of something very important, that I am because you are, that I am a person because you are a person, meaning that we are all interrelated and interconnected. So when we think about this concept of how we can create moments of joy, solidarity, and sharing, I hope that we keep Ubuntu at the front of our minds, of how we can come together through our shared connections, through our shared common vision and destiny to build those moments for community. So I leave you with a couple questions to think about. What does community mean to you? What are the important values that communities represent? And how do you help to build them right in your own household, right in your own neighborhood? And then more broadly, how do we take it into the schools? How do we take it into the community? What will it look like? So I hope that you get a chance to read the book in its entirety, that you take Joey and Grandpa Johnson's day in Rondo as an opportunity to bring your family together, to reflect upon what does it mean? What does your family legacy mean? What are the values that are important to you? And how can you help to also build upon a value that Joey learns about? The importance of financial liberation and entrepreneurship. How can you help to, because Joey right away reminds us that he wants to help create jobs and opportunities in his community, that he is dedicated to serving and leading. So also in your discussion, think about, what does that word entrepreneurship mean? What does it mean related to financial liberation and financial literacy? And the last word that I'll leave you with in Swahili, the Ujamaa piece. What about cooperative economics? How do we make sure that we support our local minority-owned and our local Black businesses in some meaningful ways? Because you notice throughout the book that Joey is going to strategic places that are owned by his community. He's going to strategic places to support his local community along with his grandfather. So I also encourage you to think about, as a family, as a community, what are some of those moments to have a Ujamaa moment, to make sure that you're supporting the local businesses in your community. Why is that important? Because at its peak, Rondo was known for having a vibrant local economy, that you had Black-owned businesses for both services and products. And then you were able to then bring the community together in meaningful ways. So my challenge for you today, as we talked about, is how do we define community? How can you, and here's an activity for the family, outline what are your family values and put them in a place where you can see them. I know my family values are directly posted on our refrigerator, of those daily reminders of who we are, of what's important to us. I also encourage you to think about Ubuntu. What does it mean that a person is a person through others? How are we connected to others? And last but not least, as we think about Ujamaa, in that sense of how do we promote entrepreneurship? How do we support local businesses? Here's an opportunity for you to teach some key lessons in your household and beyond. So thank you for joining us for Harambee Book Club.